Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, and this is Taking Care of Business. Joining me today is Trina Casey-Myatt, who is Regional Director in Alberta for Robert Half. Thanks for joining us today, Trina.
My pleasure.
Well, Robert Half had some interesting survey results recently about the state of the employment and labor market in Canada. I want to talk about some of this stuff, but the one thing I found really interesting is more than 1/4 of Canadian workers will be looking for a new job in 2022. What are your thoughts on that? Like, was that a high number? Was that something you guys would have expected? Yeah, maybe we'll start the conversation with that.
Sure. It certainly is a high number, but I'm not so sure it was unexpected because truly over the last 2 years, there's always natural turnover, and that didn't happen as much over the last 2 years. I'm going to say the last 6 months, we certainly saw more of it. But the economic environment was very uncertain. And so people were very reluctant to make a move because last one in, you might be the first one out if necessary. And so there's so much uncertainty out there. And so now that things are getting a little bit back to closer to the normal, or as normal as I think we're going to get, the economic environment is heating up. And certainly we're seeing a lot of talent shortages in a number of areas. So I think people are feeling more confident now to make that change. So we've got a bit of a buildup of maybe some individuals who didn't make a change that may have in the last couple of years, but we also have a percentage of individuals who have really rethought what they want to do with their career. Potentially, are they looking at career changes, or maybe they just need another organization that they want to work with. So high number, but not that surprising.
So I'm assuming that the most likely people to be looking for a job are younger people. Yeah, that younger generation, call them Gen Z or call them millennials, whatever you want to call them. But those are the ones the most likely to be looking.
So the bigger percentage that say that they will be looking for a new opportunity is kind of that 30 to 40 range. Again, not surprising because that's the group of individuals who are looking to make maybe a progressive change in their career, maybe feeling like they're not getting it with their current organization. So again, not totally surprising that it's that group that's looking for the change.
Tell me, in your experience in dealing with a lot of companies, a lot of individuals that are looking for careers and different jobs, the aspect of loyalty and where does that exist today, specifically and more especially for younger people, right? I'm a perfect example, right? I've worked 35 years at the Calgary Herald, right? And I thought that was it, until I was laid off like almost 6 years ago. But, that generational idea of working 30, 40 years at one place, is that gone now, for the younger workers?
I'm not so sure that it's totally gone. I think what the change truly is that the younger generation is looking for experiences, and I think they're very willing to stay with the same organization if they can continue to get those experiences. If they can't, then they're open to making a move. So I think it's within the control of the organization to retain that talent. But you have to look at it a little bit differently as to how do you progress these individuals? How do you give them the opportunities for growth and development, which is something that they really crave.
Okay. Now you mentioned some of the issues regarding, how things have opened up a little bit, with the economy and all that. But, everywhere I go, I keep hearing about this labor shortage, right? And, CFIB has just had a recent report on that. How many small businesses can't find people. I see it almost every day wherever I go, signs on the door, right? Looking to hire or whatever. How does this play? How does the current labor shortage situation play into all this when you have this now, this movement that you're probably going to see in early 2022?
Well, it's certainly going to make it challenging for some employers to find replacements for the individuals that have moved on. But I certainly think that there are things that organizations can do. One, to make sure that they're retaining their talent, and how to go out and find that talent. And certainly retention is absolutely key right now. And so being aware of how your staff is feeling and having good, open, and honest conversations, I think, is just absolutely critical right now. If you don't know what they're thinking and how they're feeling and what they're needing, how can you adjust to accommodate what they're requiring? So, to me, that's the first step in all of this.
Okay, super. One last thing, Trina, from your experience, and I understand you've had a long experience in this industry. How has the pandemic forever changed people's view of work and how work is?
I think the number one thing is the remoteness of work, because if we look at the number of people who are working from home today, that's significantly different than pre-pandemic. And I don't think that will ever go back to the way it was. The flexibility of work, window working, I think, before it was, you used to go to work, you come home, and there was a separation. That separation no longer exists in the same manner. So it's the two have kind of merged, and working different hours, having flexibility to do things during the day that you need to get done, taking the kids to school, whatever it might be. I think that is truly what has changed in the work environment forever.
Just a personal experience. When I was still at the Herald, right, I remember going into my boss and saying, I think I should work from home, right? And it was like complete shock initially, right? And bear in mind, this was about 7-8 years ago now. But what I found from that experience, just my own boss, was that there are still a lot of companies out there that are kind of reluctant to do that. I don't know. I think they might have had the image in their head that, he's at home sitting in his pajamas drinking beer, like working, right? Do you think the perception of remote work is changing, for companies themselves, and that they're now embracing it more because of necessity, I guess, but also embracing the idea?
I think it has changed, and mostly because it was forced to change, with the pandemic. But I think what many organizations have seen is not only has it been beneficial from an employee perspective, but it's also been beneficial from a productive perspective. And so it's a win-win all the way around. So I think you are so right. Many organizations were so afraid. It had such a negative connotation. But now they're realizing, hey, this actually does work. I'm getting happier employees, which hopefully will increase that retention. And we're getting more productivity. There's less distractions during the day, which one could argue that there's some negatives around that, but people are just finding that they're much more productive. Yeah. And so as an organization, happy employees, more productive employees, that's a win-win.
You bet. All right, super. Thanks for joining us today, Trina.
Thanks, Mario.
All right, that was Trina Casey-Myatt, who is Regional Director in Alberta for Robert Half. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, and this has been Taking Care of Business. Thanks for joining us today.